Hi everyone, it's Liesel. A while back I was asked how I prepare my journal covers for binding, and more particularly how I lay out the holes for the thread in such a manner that it all lines up neatly. So I thought I'd just quickly do a little tutorial talk on what I do before I bind this particular journal that I'm busy with. The first thing that I do is I create a template, and here you can see I have templates from many different journals. I somehow keep them even when I don't have the journals anymore. And what I do is I measure the width of my spine, which in this case is 1.5 inches, and I cut a piece of paper to 1.5 inch width, and then I measure it to the height of my signatures and trim it down so that it is exactly the same height or length as the height of my signature would be. What I then do is, using a scoring tool, and you can see the line here, I scored from this side all down the middle, so I line it up so that the scoring line goes exactly down the middle of this piece of paper. And that, in this case, I'm going to put 5 signatures into this journal. So the middle one is going to be for the third signature, and my signatures are going to be 1/4 inch apart. So I draw lines, 2 on either side of my scored line, so that I have 5 lines lining up for exactly where each signature is going to go. Then I measure so that I find the exact middle of my little template as much as is possible, and I draw a line going straight down the middle, as well as one 1 inch in from either side. Where these lines all intersect, and I've marked them with little circles, those are where I'm going to prick the holes for my binding. And what I do is I take my cover, I lay my template down on it, lining it up with the spine and as far up or down as needs be so that it's roughly aligned with the middle. And then, holding it firmly down, I prick little holes at each intersection. I hope you can see that. So you can see I've already done it. The holes are showing through on the other side of the paper. And if I hold up the spine, you'll be able to see the little pilot holes that I've already made in the spine itself. Now, those holes should be deep enough so that if I hold it up to the light, hopefully you can see here, those are the little pilot holes. Now, they are in no way large enough to take needle and thread. And here in the middle, you can see that that one there isn't really very visible. So I'll go back, and where that little hole is, I will just pierce it. Let me just do the 2 next to it as well on either side. There, just give it a nice little firm push. And now the middle holes are all quite visible. And then what I do, because I like it to be as neat as possible from the outside, is I use the little pilot holes on the outside of the cover. And now I have to do this from a bit of a distance. I push through, going into my cover, and I push through. My awl is quite narrow. I push through about 2 centimeters, which is just under 1 inch, possibly even 1 inch. And I do that for each of the little holes. I'm not going to do them all because really you don't have to see me doing each and every single one of them, but I'll do the top row. And I just use the little pilot hole to guide me so that I know where I'm going to make my hole. And then, once the holes are all there, I lay my spine flat, and with the back of my awl, which is, as you can see, flat, but the wood is not hard like metal. I just burnish the holes a little bit. You could use a bone folder for the same purpose, just to flatten little straggly bits of paper that might be sticking up. On the inside, as you can see, there's also a bit of damage, as one would expect, and I do the same. I just push it flat from each side just to get it as neat and tidy as I possibly can. And there you can see now the holes look much smaller because of the paper that's been pushed back, but the holes are there, and when you put your needle and thread through, it'll go through with ease. But at the same time, you will have a very neat spine, and what you end up with is binding that lines up as perfectly as is possible with anything that is homemade. Clearly, if it were machine made, one could aim for perfect precision and accuracy, but we are human and it is a handmade item. And even when I did this little zigzag, I once again made a template, and if I can find it, my first template, there you can see all the lines that I drew everywhere where I was going to intersect and put the needle through. I drew a line along with, in this case, I scored lines. I don't know whether you can see them, the lights, there you go. You can see the scored lines that I made. I didn't draw them with a pen. And I practiced my binding on this to make sure that I knew exactly where I wanted to go with my needle and thread to get a perfect cross stitch binding. So that's what I do. It's not rocket science, but it just requires a little bit of measurement to get it precise, and you end up with a little template. The other thing that I do is I write, and you will have seen this in many tutorials, I'm sure, on how to bind a book. I write top, and that is always the side that goes to the top. When I want to make the pilot holes in my signatures, I will fold this on the score line, and then once I have secured my signature with some paper clips, I will lay, and where's the top? The top's on this side, so top goes to the top, and I will proceed to push holes through on exactly the same spots on the line for each one of them. And because I drew a line across, which I'd measured an exact inch from the top, I can use the center line as my template for holes in each one of my signatures, and they will all line up to the holes that were made in my cover. So that's the way I prepare my signatures and my cover for binding. I hope it helps, and until we see each other again, bye.